All right, you're listening to Zentripz Independent Radio. I have guests with me tonight, DJ Lazardi, and I also have Tony Puccio and Lino Navarro in the house.
What?
And
Dave the violinist.
There you go. I was gonna say let somebody else say that. And ironically enough, I watch a lot of different TV series. I like the more bizarre ones, and there was one where it was a take on Dead Mouse, except it was something Killer Cats, and he had the hat on the head, and he was playing a violin too. Okay, nice. So we're in some sort of synchronistic flow here. This was meant to be. All right, so you're going to be performing at Jackson's tonight.
That's right.
Awesome. So are you pretty stoked about it? I mean, that's a great venue.
It is, man. I played it like 3 or 4 times, and every time I go, it's packed. Beautiful people. The attention is great, and I think it's one of the best places, if not the best place here in Tampa for especially that kind of music.
And you're right about the beautiful people. When we did our interview last week in front of Jackson's, I have never seen so many hot women going into a club in the Bay Area ever. Miami, yes. Bay Area, no. Well, I'm glad to have you in here, and I'm glad you were able to make it down to the studios to talk to us tonight. I wanted to ask you what got you started in the music industry.
Oh, well, that was back in 1995 when I was almost to graduate from high school. I started working as a bartender in a small place in Coconut Grove, Miami, and one of the DJs that we had, a Brazilian guy, got sick, and I had to just do it because we had no music. And just the feeling that that night provided me, I was like, wow, this is really cool, So I started talking to a Brazilian guy, and he taught me how to DJ, and then little by little started DJing more and more until I just did it full time.
So you just jumped right in.
Right.
I should say it's more like you got pushed in.
Well, more like pulled in.
Yeah, there you go.
Pushed. It's like, come over here, we need you.
Now, you've had residencies at several clubs, and more notably, I think the locals will know, is Space. Could you tell us about some of the other clubs you've had residencies at?
Sure. Space, I started when the first day that they started back in 2000, and I did it for 3 years till 2003, and then I stopped for a couple of years. Then I came back on 2005 or 6, and since then I haven't stopped. At least once or twice a month. It's been a pretty good experience because I will say that's the place where it's that's the place like the seed where. When I started residence every week or twice a month, that's where I started getting gigs all over the world, and that really pushed me to go out there. And I'm really grateful for all the Space family and everything that has provided to me.
That's awesome. Now, I was looking at the list. I mean, of clubs that you've played at, like all the top clubs, man. That's just amazing.
Yeah, I did 3 years Cameo when it was really hot before they sold it. I did it every Thursday night. Also, I still do Nikki Beach once every 2 months. Opium Garden when it was really hot back in 2000. Basically, I've done almost every club in Miami except the real competition with Space because they don't let residents to play in those clubs. But
so it's really that competitive down there.
Yeah, it's either you play there or you're not.
Wow.
But you started. You got your World Sounds party at La Covacha, right?
Yeah. Well, that party was actually started at Space back in 2005.
Okay.
Exactly on November 6, 2004. That was the first party.
Wow.
That's what we're celebrating today's 7 years anniversary.
Nice.
And that party started back on the terrace, but it was nighttime, and then it started growing, and now we have taken it all over the world. It's been pretty good experience, 7 years. Now we're going to open up the record label next year, War Sounds record label. The idea of War Sounds is more as a movement more than a party. It's I will say it's like a multicultural movement.
Gotcha.
Expressed through the music. That's what War Sounds is. And the idea of War Sounds is to combine different sounds of the world, like just like the word says, from Europe, from America, from South America, from Africa, from Asia, and get those sounds and put them together into the house music. That's basically what War Sounds means.
That's right down your alley,
that's
dude,
nice.
right there. Huh?
Yeah, we were just having almost the same discussion before you got here about how I'm an American, but most of the music that I'm inspired by is world music. And I like the fact that there's so many different flavors. That a lot of people are upset about the fact that globalization is moving the way that it is, but when you stop and think about it in a musical sense, it is a beautiful thing. Yeah. And I was looking at the list of the people that you've played with. I mean, you've played with like everybody, man. Tiesto, Paul Van Dyke, Ferry Corsten, Eric Murillo. I mean, the list just goes on. And that's got to really pump you up and make you love doing it even more.
Yeah, I mean, every time, you know what? I changed my mentality a couple of years ago. Because before it was like, wow, my dream is to play with Tiesto and stuff, and they did it in Bang Festival, and then I went to Colombia and I played with him as well, and then same thing with Paul Van Dyke and all these guys you just mentioned. But then once you do that, you go like, wow, is this all there is? So basically, I changed my mentality and changed my state of mind, and I'm like, it's not about achieving the goal anymore. It's about enjoying the process all the time. Whatever you do, enjoy moment to moment.
Quality of life.
Yeah, because once you get something, always, man, it happened to me. I have 3 kids, which is something beautiful. Now I'm going to go to a 4th. And I've done many, many things in my life, but every time I get a goal, and I'm so inspired by, once I get it in my hands and I have it, I'm like, is this all it is,
Yeah.
So basically, not anymore. Now it's about enjoying everything I do and being grateful with all my friends and my family and the people that I know day to day.
So the attitude of gratitude is what makes all of it much more satisfying.
Yes, totally.
And that's what gives you your fulfillment. It's not just doing the music.
Totally.
Yeah, that's important nowadays in the industry, because everybody gets so involved with the business aspect, they forget the reason why they're in it is to enjoy what they do.
Right.
And I think especially in the dance music industry, you have, I think there's a more profound separation in the way people experience it. You have your hardcore partiers that are just there to party, and then you have other people that are there for the music.
Right.
And I think that is also in the artists. And having met you, it seems like you have a love of music, the love of life that goes with it. Now, was there a transitional point in your life besides that, maybe an event or something where you finally had to really stop and reevaluate your approach to all of it?
Yeah, I think it was back in 2006 when I got divorced. That event caused me to appreciate more life, appreciate more family, and not just about business and the party. Because at the beginning it was all just party and business. And then I realized, wow, I'm doing this every day, but I'm missing so much, I'm accomplishing a lot, but I'm missing more than what I'm accomplishing. So I started looking at life in a different point of view, and I started realizing that it's not just about party and business and women and this and that. That's just a little, extremely small piece of what life means. And since that, I started, doing seminars and courses and going to learning a lot of stuff, not only music, but all the stuff about life, that it really changed my life. And now it's about something else, it's about happiness.
So do you think it's more, because a lot of people will say when something like that happens to somebody, it's because you're growing up or you're maturing. Do you think it's that, or do you think it's suddenly you have a greater awareness of what's going on around you in the world?
Definitely it's a greater awareness. Yes. I expanded my awareness in 2006. Definitely that's the word.
Which brings me to my next question. You have become a life coach.
Right.
Now, I see how you smiled even more when I said that than when we had started talking about the music. So that is an outgrowth of this greater awareness that you've experienced, or just the way that you've decided to redevelop or approach life in general?
Well, I think that I've had that in my heart all my life, because I've helped, I will say, hundreds of people during my, since I was born, in many, many ways, but I was doing it unconsciously. And then when that event happened in 2006 and I started changing the way I think, I was like, wow, every time I do this, there's a double effect. One is, I get happy because I'm helping somebody else, but also at the end, I'm not doing it because of that, but at the end, the karma, like it would go back to you, you know?
Yeah, what you put out comes back to you, without a doubt.
So basically, all the promoters that I've helped during my career and all the DJs that I helped, I just did it because I wanted to do it. But then at the end, doors open by itself instead of trying to open the doors.
Yeah.
Without, you got to add value, man. If you don't add value to the table, if you don't add value to the marketplace, nothing goes back to you.
And that brings you back to the base thing of attitude of gratitude.
Right.
Because if you have that and you express it without having to consciously go, all right, I'm gonna have to think about how grateful I am for this. If you're living it, then like you said, those doors just open. Now, before we get into the life coaching thing deeply, I wanted to ask you, what event that you performed at? What was the event that you performed at after you've had these realizations? The first big show where you actually were able to bring these things together?
The last 5 years, it's been just growing every year. And I think just by changing my attitude, everything changed. By becoming a better person, everything became better.
Yeah, so it wasn't just an instant thing.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Just got progressive. I will say every year has been better than the last one. And back in 2007, like after a year of that, my birthday party at Space, it was the best experience that I had in my life at that point. But after that, every year has been better and better. And
what day is your birthday?
February 8th.
Aquarius. There you go. You were crazy at first. Well, that's good. That's why you have a more open understanding of things. We won't get into astrology at this particular point, but why not? Now, do you have your own label that you're promoting right now?
No, I have a lot of tracks out there.
Okay.
But I want, like I said a few minutes ago, I'm opening the label. It's already opened.
Okay.
It's World Sounds record label, but it's gonna go officially into all the web, like Beatport and iTunes and everything next year.
Awesome. Now, how frequently are you putting out tracks or singles? Because I've talked to several people we've had interviews with, and all of them seem to be in agreement. You got to put out 2 or 3 tracks a month to pretty much stay on the edge of things.
I know. That's I'm building a team again, of producers, so that way we all get the commitment of doing that. Because by myself, it's very hard to produce, especially good tracks. Because I don't want to put tracks just to sell them.
Right.
I want to do tracks that really come from my heart, and it's hard to find the combination of producing a track coming from your heart, and that track, everybody likes it at the same time. So a lot of times you do something that you really like, but nobody likes it. Or you do something just because people will like it. And it's something, I wouldn't say commercial, but it's something just because, this is something that will like people, but I don't,
Yep.
And I like to merge it. I like to do an overlap of something that I like it and I love it from my heart, but at the same time people like it, and that's very hard. But if I get a group of people, and I was thinking we go back to the basics of helping people, if I get some guys and I help them to promote their name and I help them to bring the name to the table, and we all together have the same goal, which is putting the label out there and growing all of us, and we all commit to do at least, I will say, 1 track a month, or at least 2 tracks a month. We will have tracks every week.
Right. And there's strength in numbers. It's all about networking. That's a lesson that I've learned this past year myself. You try to do everything by yourself.
No.
Yeah. Now the people that you plan to bring in the label, I'm assuming is Mark M and them, right?
Well, Mark M is one of them. Electronic Drums from
Yes.
Colombia is another one. Then I was going to talk to, I haven't talked to him, but I have it in mind, which is Tony Puccio and Pedro M from here from Tampa.
We're down.
Leo from Orlando. So basically, when I have from all over, and I have Dennis Demens, which is a great producer.
Nice.
I got a few guys, I want to talk to. I have 3 confirmed, which is Mark M, and the 2 guys from Electronic Drums. The other ones are just on mine. But once I get all the commitments done, we go ahead and open it.
Now, Nicolas from Electronic Drums is going to open for you tonight, right?
Oh, I heard that.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
How did you guys meet?
They called me one day. I was in my house back in 2008 or 9 or something, and he got a phone call, and it was his partner, Fabio. And he told me, I heard about you, this and that. I'm throwing a party in Manizales, Colombia, and I want you to come and play here. So I went there and it was awesome. It was packed, amazing. And then I go there every year. And we became friends.
Nice.
I think they play here in Tampa with you guys, right?
Yeah.
With Tony and
Yeah, Nico lives here now. He moved. It's official.
You've been featured on Subliminal and Spinning Records, right?
yeah. Well, Spinning Records, I sent the song. It's called El Porro. Porro means weed or marijuana, and we did a nice track. And it's had a lot of drums, but
I want an autographed copy.
You wanna feel it? So we had, I sent the track basically to all my friends, and I don't know how this guy from Spinning got the record on their email, and immediately they sent me an email. Oh, I'll sign the record. And we did all the agreement and everything, and it was pretty good. It was in the top 100 of Beatport, and that's how I got it. And then the other one, Veneno, was actually the original was through Groove Records, which is how you call it, the partner of Christian Falero.
Is it George?
Yeah, George Morel. George Morel. He signed me that one. Then we made like 8 or 9 remixes. And then Murillo, one day, we were in a private party in Miami, and not in a club, it was in a house, and he was playing, it was like Sunday afternoon after Space, and I gave him the track. I said, hey, you want to play this? And he said, sure, let me see what's going on. So he played it, and he said, wow, what is that? I like it. Then I told him about it, and then he said, you know what? I'm going to get it for my Subliminal Sessions CD, because he does one like every year, every 2 years.
Yeah.
So I told I'll talk to George because he already signed it, and that's how I got released. That was pretty cool.
Now we got Dave the violinist over here, right? Now you're going to be playing tonight with Lazardi?
Yeah, I'll be playing live, basically electric violin next to him. And like you guys were talking before about live drums, what I do is more in the club experience. I'll bring a live violin electric sound to it, which is a whole different kind of story. But
I like that. This is very fresh flavor to it. It's I don't think we've had anybody out here in a very long time that's brought an additional musician with them for this performance.
Yeah, and today we were supposed to bring the drum guy, because I have a show. It's called War Sounds Live, and we do the violin together with the drum.
Wow.
So we play the music, and they follow it with the drums and the violin. Is awesome, but the guy had another commitment and he couldn't make it. But you're gonna hear this Dave, he's really, really, really good.
Well, I'm definitely gonna have to make sure I get out there tonight, and we're gonna take a momentary break here on Zentripz Independent Radio, Zentrippin' with DJ Lazardi, and we'll be back here in just a brief moment. All right, we're back, and it's Zentripz Independent Radio live using the 88.5 studios. Our guest tonight. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, gentlemen. I did it the first time around.
Tony Puccio, Lino Navarro,
Lazardi,
Dave Damage.
And of course, dude. I like having just one name. Keeps it simple. We were talking before the break. We were talking about the music and the different artists you've been working with. And I was wondering if there's any upcoming tracks or any other projects maybe we haven't mentioned that you would like to discuss with us.
Well, I'm working on a project right now, which is a full CD release of 10 tracks. And that is coming with the opening of the label, which will be out after conference on April next year. We have 7 tracks already. Each track is basically, it has a little flavor of a different country. And it's all the same bass, the same structure with tech house, basically, some tribal. But it will have few instruments, even live instruments, that are recognized by the culture of each country. Like Brazilian, we have a samba track, which is with the real drums of Brazil. We have a track from Colombia which has some accordion. We had even a track from Scotland, which they call it gaitas from Scotland. And we have, there's 10 different tracks from 10 different parts of the world, Asian track, Arabian, That's why it's going to be called World Sounds, and we're going to start that album to release the record label, which probably will be April or May on 2012.
I was going to hit him up for a promo before he leaves. And, I'm always looking for new music, especially if it's unreleased. I have a 20-minute segment on here where I just talk about a track and play it. I usually I'm pushing him to get more time. We'll see if we get it to 30 minutes or an hour later. But right now it's averaging about 4 or 5 tracks. So if you have something to leave with me, would be great.
Are you doing selected bookings right now, or are you on tour?
Well, right now, as we speak, we're celebrating the World Sound 7-year anniversary. So basically, we did it in Chicago on Tuesday, Palm Beach on Wednesday, on Thursday, and today here in Tampa. And I did Colombia 2 weeks ago. So basically, this month is just to celebrate the 7 years anniversary.
We started talking about, I'm sure we'll circle our way back around to some of the music, but you being a life coach, and I was wondering how you guys started with that.
I started looking for motivation because when I separated from my ex-wife, was making a lot of money, and I had a lot of friends and stuff, and I was going out a lot, partying here, partying there. But every time I went back home, because I had 2 kids at the moment, I felt empty. So I started looking for motivation to see how could I feel more fulfilled about myself and about spiritual life and about life, basically. So I met a guy called Tony Robbins.
I met Tony too.
Yeah.
He's a giant.
Yeah, man. He's like 6'7".
Wow.
So was it like the Jack Black moment in an elevator, or was this a planned meeting?
No, it was actually a planned meeting.
Very nice.
And then I went to all his seminars. I did all, his Master University. And then I started meeting all these guys that they do personal development, such as Jim Rohn, that he died, 2 years ago, Deepak Chopra, Brian Tracy. And it started fitting my mind that way. And then I went to Las Vegas for NLP. I don't know if you heard of it.
Neurolinguistics programming.
Yeah. And I did that course, and then I did the master, and they offered me to do the life coaching. And, I was finding out what that is about, and I really liked it, So I studied for that. And now I'm doing that during the day, life coaching and business coaching. So basically, what I do is to help people to achieve their goals, whatever goal they have, and I help businesses to achieve their business goals. And I align the business goals with the personal goals, so you don't have internal conflicts if you're a business owner. Because some business owner, they want to accomplish a lot in business, and they also want to accomplish a lot of life on their personal life, but they conflicts, because
You have to find that balance.
you have to find a balance, right?
Because if you don't, then everything else eventually, it just collapses.
It collapses, right? And then it was going to work for Tony about 2 years ago, but they asked me to move to Chicago, which for me, my priority is my family, and I didn't want to go.
Well, I lived in Chicago. You made the right choice.
It's too cold, man. I was
You
there on
got that
Tuesday,
right.
and it was like 29 degrees, and that's nothing compared with January, which is like 10
Yeah,
degrees.
it's a
forget
great
about
city,
it,
but yeah. You got like 3-4 months out of the year where it's actually warm enough to be outside, and the rest of the time.
That's one of the reasons I used to live up in New York, and that's one of the reasons I left, because I couldn't stand the weather anymore, man.
That's why everyone lives in Florida. Let's just be honest.
I just left New York.
Nobody
because
was born here.
I left New York because I only speak English.
Now with your life coach, I know Tony's really like into the whole. He's really into the whole positive vibe thing. I mean, is there something you want to say about that? Or
Well, no, I mean, I didn't even find out about it. My sister told me, because you made a group on Facebook about the positive attitude.
Right.
Right. And for my sister to come to me with that, she's like, hey, this guy, I've heard you mention him before. And I started looking on the page, and I'm like, wow, how refreshing to have somebody in the electronic nightclub, music world come up with something like that. I was like, this is the best thing on Facebook, probably since Facebook, to be honest. Everything else is about. And I'm not dogging it, because I know we all have to promote our parties and
I still like to party too. So
I love that.
I'm just not out of control anymore.
You don't do this business unless you really love the music.
Yeah,
that's
right.
I mean, there's so many letdowns where it's very rewarding what we do, but there is a level of negativity you have to deal with when you're trying to be popular, trying to be famous, trying to make parties, and
Or just trying to be positive yourself.
just trying. People will shoot you down
Yeah.
because
Well, it's easy to be a holy man on a mountain.
right.
You know, it is.
So yeah, I just I saw that group and wanted to say,
What is that name of
kudos.
that group? Let's go ahead and give that a plug right now.
It's called Alex Lazardi. Alex Lazardi, positive attitude, you know, and it says friends helping friends. So basically, it's a group that I made.
And there it is.
It should have maybe like 2,000 people right now.
That is correct. I'm looking at it right now.
The idea of the group is to have people adding value every day, and if they have any problems, we all can help each other. That's
Interesting.
basically the philosophy behind the group.
Did you read any of Anthony's material before you met him?
I did a couple of courses. I did Personal Power 2, and I did Mastering Influence, which is one of his programs. And then once I met him, I did basically all of them. He's really good, you know. He goes direct to the point, and he's it's everything about psychology, basically.
Right.
Why people do what they do.
Yeah, because when I got his first book, I realized he was using the neurolinguistics,
Yeah.
Fit for Life, and another system, and he would basically taken the best of these three things and put them into his own working system. And the fact that he was in a position in his life where he needed to transition, and to see how that's reflected in each subsequent person that he helps, like yourself, like myself. I mean, before I started reading that stuff, I was out of control. You know, and there's still, I don't know about you, how you feel about it, but there's a part of me that kind of wishes I still was that guy, but I like being who I am now.
Great. Okay.
You know, so now, is there anybody that do you work with people hands-on, or do you just do seminars, or like
Both.
Both. Okay.
I'd rather, in the near future, I'd rather just do seminars, because people, the day only have 24 hours.
Right.
So basically, there's only a quantity of people that you can see per day. Seminars, you can put 100, 200, 1,000, 2,000 people in a room, and you can help them all. Maybe it's not the same intensity because it's not one-to-one, but they get it. You know, the energy transfers to everyone, and you get to help more people at the same time than just looking, you know, one by one.
Well, that's, you know, like you said, Tony, I mean, that's amazing that you're able to do what you do, and that you also want to help people and help people to better themselves. But you're one of the rare people that realizes that what you put out comes back to you regardless of what it is. And a lot of people, I don't know if you may have been in that position before, where like, God, why is this happening to me again? And then once you realize it and own it and say, you know, I created this. How did I create this? Why did I bring this to me? It at least empowers you enough to change it. Because if you're constantly blaming other people, that person has power over you.
At least to change the questions in your mind. If you ask yourself, why this happened to me, your mind has to answer that. And your answer is going to answer, well, because you're dumb, because you're lazy, because you this, you that. You know, if until you don't start asking better questions, you won't start getting better answers.
Exactly.
And that's internally
That's true.
and externally. So basically, like I have kids, you know, now I guide them through questions. I let them answer their own question, and I try to ask the best questions possible so they can answer the best answers possible. Mm-hmm. And that way they actually guide themselves, but through questions. You know?
And there's no running away or rebuttals when you're answering your own questions at all. Because I actually, myself personally, mine came after a split with someone I was engaged to, and she left a box of books. And the book on the top of the stack was Anthony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within.
Oh, wow. You know, he wrote that book in 2 weeks.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Wow.
In 2 weeks, man. He was doing a seminar, I think it was Atlanta, I'm not sure. And then he finished like 11 or 12, and then he will go directly to write the book till like 4 or 5 in the morning. Sleep 3 hours and go back, because he had a deadline. Because if he will miss that deadline, he will have to wait, you know, a few more months for.
Wow, that's
so he was
intense.
desperate, and he did it in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, the material that I ran across after that was introduced to me by a friend. I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Michael Rice.
No.
He did a book called Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And it also, he had a series of cassettes and workshops and provided these It was like a worksheet where you basically teaches you how to rephrase these issues that you have so that it comes back to you, so that you're able to, and so didn't really do this to me. I asked for this so that I might learn from it, and as a building process. Now, when you're doing any of these one-on-one things, do you have like a system that you use?
Yeah, I have a system, depending on what the goal is. But usually, I have a system. The first thing we do is we clarify exactly what the people want and why they want it. Because sometimes people want something, but they don't want that. They want the emotion that produces.
Right.
So if we can get to the emotion through another better way, I can help them to do that as well.
Almost like creating a mission statement of what I want to do to achieve my goal.
Yeah, that's the first step. Then the second step is to actually, strategize a specific plan of how you're going to accomplish that.
And you take the same approach when you're helping businesses?
Yes, but it's 3 steps. You first find out exactly what you want and why you want it. That's the first step. The second step, you create a flexible plan of how you're going to get that. I say flexible because if something's not working, you don't change the goal, but you change the approach.
Right.
So it's flexible. That's the second step. And the third step is just take massive action every day until you achieve it. And that's in business, that's in career, that's in health, that's in all areas of
and
life.
And that becomes a matter of self-discipline.
And what it really gives you the edge is the meaning that you give to the things. Because a lot of things happen in our life, but it doesn't mean anything until you give the meaning. Like when you go to a trip and you come back and I ask you how was the trip, the only answer that I'm going to receive from you is what you tell me. So what you're going to tell me is the meaning that you gave to the trip, right?
Right.
So if you give sorry for the word, a meaning, the trip was such,
Yeah.
And if
well, we can censor this, so you can say whatever you want.
And we try to change the meaning in everything. Same with the music,
Yeah.
We go to a party, and then the party happen many things, but it's up to you. Are you gonna focus on the bad things or are you gonna focus on the good things? If you focus on the bad things that happen, oh, there was a fight, oh, the party closed early, the sound wasn't good, right? Maybe those 3 things were true, but a million things were amazing. Why don't you mention the other million things? We had a lot of friends, we met a lot of people, we had great opportunities to have more gigs. There's many things. If you're looking for problems, that's what you're going to have. But if you're looking for good opportunities, that's what you're going to have as well.
What you focus on is what you create. We're created in God's image in the sense that we create with our thoughts and our emotions.
Right.
Quantum theory has proven that. Reality is subjective to the perspective of the observer.
100%. Yeah.
And that's a amazing thing and a frustrating thing at the same time, because I try to stay on it, but there's times where I'm really lazy about it, and I'll slip back and complain about somebody or something, and I have to really reevaluate it and rethink it. And other times it just flows naturally. I find that even if I'm not in a certain state of mind and somebody asks me, well, how was your day today? It was great. It was awesome. And just by saying that and not saying a negative word, it keeps me from slipping into that trap.
Yeah, you don't go back to old patterns.
Yeah, you just got to keep away from that negative energy and stuff. Yeah.
Well, we're all programmed to be that way, whether we want to admit it or not, through television and.
Well, why do you think they call television programming?
Exactly. Good point. Debt slaves, a credit card, buy everything on credit.
And if you watch any of the news channels and you flip it, they're doing the same stories with the same sentence at the same time every night on all
mind control.
The channels. It's repetition. Repetition is how you program people. That's why the books in the Bible are repeated.
Right, over and over.
Over and over. That's how you program stuff. I attended some Dianetics and Scientology stuff when I was in Los Angeles, and I'm like, man, this is brainwashing. They even use the NLP stuff where the body language and the touch techniques and stuff when they say something. I'm like, you can't do this to me. I already know what this is.
So basically, when you told me at the beginning about expanding the awareness, what I've been doing the last years is because I did get aware of many things that were happening I was not aware before. Get those events in my life and those attitudes and those emotions, and instead of being consciously about it, like I've been repeating it so much that it's getting on my unconscious mind now. So it's like tightening my shoes,
Yeah.
Like, because before, when I was every kid, 3, 4, 5 years old, when you start tightening your shoes, you have to have all your focus on your shoes. And if you talk to a kid, say, hey, the kid asks you, hey, don't you see I'm tying my shoes? Hold on. Now, like the DJ, for example, like I've done it so many nights in my life that when I started mixing, I was like, all my focus had to be when I was mixing a song. Like nobody could touch me or nobody could talk to me because I was stressed. The song was gonna go out of beat. Now, mixing a song is not an issue anymore. Now the issue is about connecting with the people. So you can talk to me, you can touch me, you can say whatever, and the mix will go perfect. But the hard part now is not about mixing, it's about producing the energy and keeping the energy all night. And that happen with repetition. Once you get the conscious thing and put it in your unconscious mind and make it inside of you, that's the hard part.
And that is it. You have to connect with the people you're trying to entertain.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that live coaching and the music, I mean, it all works in together because, I mean, you're out there trying to make people feel good in both ways.
You know what? Like many times, sometimes when you have so many tracks and you're playing, maybe you can play a track that you're like, wow, I made a mistake. I don't know if it happened to you, Puccio.
Million times.
I think it's happened to all of us in this room.
So just by, even though you play the wrong track, but you have the right attitude and you still connected with the people, you don't lose the dance floor. When you can play the best track and you don't have connection with the people and you lose it because you didn't connect.
Yep.
That's the hard part.
Yes, it is. I was just going through your page here, because now that we're on it, and I like this right here. It says, your problem is that you think your problem is a problem, and the real problem is that you think you're not supposed to have problems.
Wow.
I needed to hear that 2 days ago.
We all have problems, and we will until we die.
Well, that's the whole point of life, you know?
The things we're going to have better problems or more quality problems when we grow, you know? At the beginning, maybe we have worse problems, but then you solve it and you get other ones and you solve it, and then you get quality problems. You don't get bad problems as before because you're growing and you're giving and you're becoming a better person.
Yeah. Now, where can people follow you at? Like, you have any social links you can go ahead and give people out, like Facebook, webpage, or anything like that?
Well, yeah, I have two. I have one for my DJ, which is all DJ Lazardi, Facebook.com/DJ Lazardi, and Twitter.com/Lazardi, and SoundCloud.com/Lazardi. But I also have the ones for the life coaching, which is Alex Lazardi. Cool. And it's the same, Facebook.com/Alex Lazardi and Twitter.com/Alex Lazardi.
I know a lot of people are going to get a lot of benefit out of hearing you, both entertainment-wise and actually through the life coaching, which is, to me, I think it's something very valuable in this industry now that's been missing, because everybody's been so induced. Because this is an evil industry, and you can really get sucked into all the bad things that this industry can do. And having a positive attitude like you have it's very refreshing, like Tony was saying. And
definitely,
it's a nice thing to see finally someone out there doing something positive about it. So
hey, it's only evil if you think it's evil.
Absolutely.
Because what happened with the DJs, they always go to a table and they go like, "What's for me? What is it for me?"
Yeah, we've had that a lot.
And every time you say, "Oh, I want more," or "I want this," you're telling yourself, "I don't have enough."
Yeah.
So I want this, but it's a double message. I want this because you don't have enough. So basically, that's the cycle that you get caught up all the time. But if you change it, instead of saying, "What is it for me?" you ask the question, "How can I add value to that?" Then whatever you're looking for will come.
The building alarm just went off.
Are you kidding me?
I'm telling you, if you go out there, I've had to shut that off. That alarm is painful. I mean, it's one of those things that would chase like crowds off. If they want to get rid of protesters, it actually hurts your brain. I really like what you said about that, because a lot of people, they just show up with their hand out, and if you again, it comes back to what you put out is what's going to come back to you. And, I was born and raised as a Christian, but I've studied every religion and philosophy that there is.
Okay.
And I lean more toward Buddhism, but I am mostly a Zen practitioner. I try to live in the moment and experience it that way. But there are certain things that different masters, like Jesus, who taught what he was expressing when he washed his disciples' feet. To be in service to others is the most self-serving thing that you can possibly do, because if you're helping somebody else, you're really helping yourself, because we are all connected. And people don't realize that. Just because we're in separate bodies, we're all part of the same giant conscious entity. We retain our individuality, but I am that I am. Or as the Mayans say, I am another yourself.
Hero, well, there's like superheroes and all those stories. If you really analyze the word hero, it means servant. And servant means to serve others. Basically, it's a slave. So if you want to become a hero, you have to become a slave of adding value. You have to give all the time without expecting any results, and then you will become a hero. And this is just a little story. I had a friend of mine, a DJ, who he wanted me to help him, and I did help him for many, many, many years, But he only cared about himself, what he could get from that. And then I made a party back in Miami on Fridays. I used to work on La Covacha for like 12 years. And I brought this guy, and he wanted to make more money. And he said, you can make that, no problem. But you have to add more value to the marketplace, He says, well, what's the marketplace? And then, well, the marketplace is La Covacha. So you add more value. How much money you want to make? Is whatever money you want to make is in the same relation of the value that you add. So if you add a lot of value, you make a lot of money. You don't add value, you don't make money. So I'm not going to give you the salary. I'm not going to tell you how much you're going to make. I'll pay you whatever value you bring to a table. And he didn't realize that for like years. And now, now I'm not a La Covacha anymore, but now after many, many years happen, now he's still, he's almost got it, almost there.
Some people it takes a little bit longer to get it, and there's myself personally. There have been times where I just didn't.
All of us,
all of us, yeah.
And it's that whole thing. You can't see the forest for the trees. Lots of times when something's right in your face, that you're so close to it, and you're so on top of it, that you're not going to get it. You can help other people and you can show them, but you just can't quite get that thing that's in front of you. And I know you have to perform tonight, so you probably want to get to the hotel and prepare yourself. It's been an absolute pleasure having you out here on the show tonight.
Definitely. And
I look forward to you coming back to the Bay Area, and maybe next time you come out, you can actually perform on the show.
Will be great.
It would be awesome. All right, you've been listening to Zentripz Independent Radio. DJ Lazardi in the house.